Thank you for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be presenting to you, supported by the West Gippsland Catchment Management and Latrobe Catchment Landcare Network. I think it's interesting that recognition that a focus on the land and agriculture also is relevant in our suburbs as we transform them to be agriculturally productive, re-inhabited landscapes. So this Aussie Street presentation and the book RetroSuburbia are all informed by permaculture ethics and principles that have powered the now global permaculture movement over the last 40 years. So even permaculture is now retro. I'm not wearing the suit that was apparently worn by some character on the Neighbours TV set decades ago, which some thought was beautiful and others thought crass. Nevertheless, this presentation will involve some humour and theatre to lighten what otherwise could be dry or even difficult subject material. Before we head off to Aussie Street, let me tell you a little bit about the book. RetroSuburbia is a manual to help you and your household recognise the patterns you are already applying and lots more you could to live better life now in Australian suburbs. It's part manual and part manifesto across 3 fields of retrofitting action: the built, the biological and the behavioural. And it's informed by a big picture view of challenging futures that are already unfolding. It's been a decade in the making, drawing on creative design and adaptation that householders have already been applying across our residential heartlands and hinterlands, including country towns like Morwell and even villages like Hepburn Springs in central Victoria, where Sue and I have lived for 33 years. The first section sets the scene with the current and emerging challenges for those living in our suburban heartlands, and the potential of permaculture thinking to help us see the patterns and opportunities to survive and thrive through those challenges. A longer illustrated version of the Aussie Street story is a chapter in the book. It's also the inspiration for a picture storybook that we have in the pipeline, told from the perspective of the kids in the street. So keep your ears peeled for that later in the year. Some have called Aussie Street a permaculture soap opera, but it's also an illustration of many of the designs, behaviours and actions that are explained in the 3 fields of retrofitting action. The 10 chapters of the built field cover how we can retrofit our shelter, heating, power, water and waste to be more comfortable and resilient for more home-based and shared living with a lower ecological footprint. The 10 chapters of the biological field cover what we need to understand about soil, microclimate, ecology of our site as we gear up to build fertility, produce more food, live outdoors and connect with nature. The behavioural field covers everything from ownership and living arrangements to rearing self-reliant and resilient children, health, disability and ageing, as well as decision-making, interpersonal relations and conflict resolution. Lots of touchy and controversial issues framed through empowering, down-to-earth common sense. Each section has a case study and there's another dozen with more coming at the website that show how real people are living RetroSuburbia now. Maybe you know somewhere that could add another example to the RetroSuburbia website, and so to Aussie Street. Aussie Street is a window into the shared history of recent history of ordinary Australia, with lessons for dealing with challenging futures. It's highlighted for me the power of storytelling to elicit positive change. So I hope Aussie Street will inspire you to dive deeper into the opportunities to retrofit your home, garden, household and neighbourhood.